visit to St. Vincent's Clay County. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. I don't know if many of you saw the article in the paper, but we work very hard to buy local and buy organic on our food. And I think they do a tremendous job doing that. And if you go in our cafeteria, you will not see any fried foods whatsoever. And it was not like that on our other campuses. They've been there too long to really try and start that trend, but we wanted to start St. Vincent's Clay off with the right attitude, and people have been very receptive to it. So when you walk in the front door, that's our medical mall area. If you have an opportunity when you leave, walk through there. That's where our surgery waiting area is, our registration, imaging waiting, if you're having a mammogram or any kind of x-ray or anything, that's where you wait. Our emergency department's on the other end of the campus. But please take time just to walk to the area and see. Notice the art. It was all like that piece. They tried to get local artists from the First Coast area and have their work portrayed in the hospital to really keep the feel of St. Vincent's Clay more about what Florida is about and what this area in particular is about. So we appreciate you coming out today. I am very honored to introduce Emma. And Emma is the Director of Employee Relations for St. Vincent's Healthcare. In this role, Emma works with employers to identify and address employee health risks before they result in costly healthcare claims. She's new to Jacksonville, as you may have noticed from her accent, but not to workplace health promotion. Emma's a 10-year veteran in the field. Before moving to Jacksonville, she was Director of Wellness Services for GBS Benefits in Salt Lake City, Utah. It was here that she authored a results-oriented implementation strategy for employers and created a full menu of wellness programs, tools, and resources to assist clients with her implementation. She was born and raised in Melbourne, Australia, and has a background in both personal and group fitness instruction and a degree in recreation management. In her spare time, Emma loves being outdoors and spending time with her family and her two Bernese mountain dogs, Bear and Hamlet. And I've got to tell you, it's been my pleasure to work with Emma since I've been at St. Vincent's. We came just about the same time that started there. And it's really amazing the ideas that she has and the ability she has to relate what her focus is into everybody's everyday life. So please don't hesitate to ask her questions or speak to her privately afterwards. She can really tailor things for what your needs are. So with no further ado, this is Emma.
Thank you. Yes, I have lived in the United States now for 17 years. I came for 2. I started in New York City, actually. Love it. I was a camp counselor. Did any of you ever do that? There's a reason to do it. No, I loved it. But yes, I've been here 17 years, and just I will share with you, just last week I passed my citizenship exam. I haven't taken my oath yet, but I think I should pass that one. Maybe that'd be a good setting. I think I'm safe. How many of you have wellness programs in place at your organization today? Okay, so a few of you. So my goal today is a couple of different things. I want to kind of talk about why wellness is a cost containment strategy, because when we go out to an employer and they say, hey, what do you want out of your program? I want an ROI. We all want an ROI. And it really is a cost containment strategy, but I want to kind of open your eyes to what else it may be for your organization. We're still keeping costs as a focus. So we weren't quite at 7 out of 10 in this room, but 7 out of 10 employers that were surveyed by Benefits Pro in 2012 reported that they are offering wellness programs. The top 10 reasons that they reported offering wellness programs was for better health and cost containment. Of the employers that didn't provide wellness programs, they plan on providing wellness programs. And when they were asked why they were going to provide a wellness program, what was their reason? Cost containment. Yeah, see the trend? Okay, so what does it really look like? I'm going to favor this side of the room, I can tell. Sorry. I'm left-handed. But I want you to look specifically at the chart here. And this is from the Kaiser Foundation And you can see in 10 years the increase in premium. My question to you, how many of you had a salary go up by that much in 10 years? Anyone? And if you are you hiring? But the reality is that the healthcare costs, as we know and we're living and breathing it, right, are going up much higher, at a much faster rate than we all kind of sustain. So, this is creating a pretty good argument for what we're trying to do here. But what I want to kind of point out at this point is that there are certainly costs that are directly related to your healthcare, right? When you look at your claims by diagnosis, you look at your pharmaceutical spend, you're looking at everything that's driving your premium. But there are also some indirect costs associated with the health or unhealth of your employee population. So looking at those indirect costs is sometimes going to be as beneficial to you when you're designing a wellness program as looking at those direct costs. So I don't want you to forget about what they're going to look like. For instance, I'm just picking on a few here, but depression. Depression is costing more than $35 billion a year in reduced performance at work. That's nothing to do with medical spend. That's just them not coming to work and being very productive. If you've gone through a depressive episode in your life, you guys can probably relate or know someone that has. It's really hard to focus when you're feeling depressed. Would you agree? This whole notion of presenteeism, we're at work but we're not really at work. Anyone relate? Yeah, a little bit, right? Okay, so what about on-the-job pain, backaches, headaches, migraines? These are the types of things or conditions that your employees are calling in for because they don't feel well that day, not showing up to work. These are very costly. Would you agree it's costly to have an employee not show up to work and perform? Huge loss in productivity? Right. What about overweight and obese adults? So for every 1 unit of BMI, does everyone know what BMI is? Body mass index. So for every 1 unit we go up, the medical cost associated with that one increase has been, through a number of studies, said to be about $119 more for that employee just in medical spend. And that's an additional $82 in drug costs just because of their increased weight. Now, weight we sometimes pick on, right? Why is weight such a big deal? Because weight is kind of the common denominator in a lot of diseases. Agreed? Heart disease, diabetes, some types of cancers, right? It's related to a lot of that. So we do pay close attention to it. What about charges for your employees that are not physically active? How many people exercise today? Okay, now how many people will exercise today? Okay, so medical charges for no physical activity are approximately 4.7% higher for someone that doesn't work out. If they add 1 day of exercise, it drops. So you can see the benefits there of adding physical activity is just something you're promoting in your organization. How many of you offer physical activity? We'll go back to this a little bit later. Programs promote physical activity with employees. Okay, what about smokers? Tobacco users more generically. Okay, pretty high cost. How many of you are actually doing a premium differential for those that don't smoke? Anyone? Okay. We're going to come back and talk about smoking a little bit more. But medical charges are about 18% higher. I'm sure some of you are seeing that in your premiums for those of you that are getting that kind of data. It's pretty high. Just to kind of drill that point home a little bit. 4 smoke breaks, 10 minutes each, 40 minutes a day. 40 minutes times 5 days a week is 2 hours per week. 2 hours per week times 4 weeks is 8 hours a month, or 1 work day. You also think it's getting a work day off every month? This is not a reason to smoke. Don't start. But this is the reality. When we talk about the indirect costs and the loss of productivity, not only is smokers costing you a medical premium, they're going to cost you in the lack of productivity also. Any questions so far? So this is all to really kind of motivate you in some way that there is really an argument to be made here for putting in cost containment or employee health management programs as part of a strategy to help lower some of these costs and keep productivity high. I wanted to kind of point out here, if you've been sleeping, to kind of come back, because this is for small employers as well. not knowing how large any of your organizations are. Wellness is for everybody, regardless of industry, regardless of company size. It doesn't matter. I've always preached in my career that wellness is not a one-size-fits-all. And if you've got someone in there trying to sell you a one-size-fits-all program, run the other way. It has to be tailored to what your needs are. It has to be tailored to the size of your population. It has to be tailored to what your needs of the population are. And it has to be tailored to how you communicate with your employees. If you're a truck driving company, is email going to be a great way to communicate? No. So a communication plan or an email is really going to be a little less effective, right? So, especially for smaller employers, I put some points up here that might be of value, but we're going to come back to some takeaway action items for you guys in a few minutes. Okay, so my approach to wellness is a strategic one, and again, it is the same regardless of how big you are, regardless of what you do, but it starts with data collection. Now that's going to be different for everybody. And then step 2 is a wellness committee. Step 3 is really starting to draft this operating plan. So data collection. It can be done, there's a number of ways we do this. If you are a large enough employer and you are working with your broker and you get to see what your claims report looks like, how employees are utilizing their benefit. You know, are they using the ER? What kind of pharmaceuticals are high on the list, right? We can look at that data and determine if there's a high diabetic population or if there's lots of people being treated for hypertension, for instance. We kind of start to learn about what the healthy population looks like, right? If we don't have those things available to us and you're not getting reporting, using things like a health risk assessment, who's ever completed one? Often they're online. We do ours online or on keypads to make it easier. We do ours in English and Spanish to try and reach a large segment of your population. But it asks you things like height and weight, right, the things we don't want to answer. It's going to ask you if you're a tobacco user, how often you exercise, what your nutritional choices like. Men lie about their height, women lie about their weight. Just from experience. It's going to ask you sometimes about alcohol consumption, just your behaviours. What are your health behaviours? Have you been in for a recent preventative screening? When was it? Women, mammogram, etc. For men, prostate screenings, etc. It's going to ask you gender-specific questions. But then this allows us to capture the health behaviours of the population, right? If you couple this with a biometric screening on site, have you guys ever offered that at the workplace? So nurses will come out, do a little finger stick, cholesterol, glucose, they'll do blood pressure, HDL, LDL, triglyceride breakdown, all of that. We can also get a snapshot of that on an aggregate level, which means that I'm going to come back and I'm going to report to you what you look like as a population, not, hey, Mary Jo had hypertension. I can't do that, right? It's all aggregated. But we can kind of look at it as a population and say, you know what, 35% of your population are hypertensive. We might want to look at hypertension. I delivered a report just last weekend. They had a significant issue with high BMIs, and then the BMI, they had a weight issue in their population, but they also had hypertension and back pain. So we're starting to correlate and kind of see what kind of programs we can put in to help get those numbers down. So the biometric screening is great to do on site. We've got nurses that come out. There's a lot of organisations that can do biometric screens for you. So those things are generally an investment, but completely worth it. The other thing that I like to do is an employee interest survey, because here we've got the behavioural data of the health risk assessment, or I call it a personal health profile. Then we've got the clinical component, which tells us their exact numbers, right? They don't lie. And then we've got this survey that we ask them, what do they want in a program? What kind of incentives are they looking for? Would they participate in a workplace physical activity challenge? Do they want Weight Watchers at work? Do they want a tobacco cessation program? We get to hear from them. What would you like? I like to ask them things, do you feel better about your employer for offering wellness? Because then you kind of get a pat on the back as the employer that way too. I've never had anyone say that they didn't like their employer for offering wellness, so that's a question to ask. But what this essentially gives you guys is a baseline, right? Because we talk about wanting to get an ROI, we want to get a measurable. But this data is going to give you your baseline. So next year, you can do all of this again. And you can see, hey, did our blood pressure go down? Did our weight go down? What did we actually succeed in doing? And then you can negotiate sometimes with the areas. Not always, but sometimes they want to hear about what you're doing. And we'll show through a couple of points if you've got a good negotiator. Any questions on the data collection component? It's a critical part to your plan. Absolutely critical. Okay, a wellness team. Who has one? Okay, good. Okay, you need one because I've run a wellness program for many organizations that I've worked with, and I don't want to do it on my own. And I love it. It's my job. But I don't want to be responsible for whatever all the employees want in their program. I want their input. So there's a couple of things to keep in mind when you're putting together a wellness team. First, I want to mention the size of the team. If you're an organization of 30 employees, you don't need 15 on your committee. Okay? Just a handful. Just enough to make sure every department is represented, and try and get an even tier. So have someone kind of your on the ground employees and then those that are more higher up on the executive level. For larger organizations, I always like to have someone that's in the marketing department, because does the program need to be marketed? Yep. Someone on the website? Yep, it's very helpful. Someone who's in finance? Bonus. Right? So try and keep those positions in mind if you're a little bit larger. But the team is going to add some credibility. If I'm the only person running the wellness program at Organisation A and I leave Organisation A, where does the wellness program go? With me? Yep. It's coming with me. So the team are going to give you that credibility and sustainability over time. A group IQ. You want all of their ideas, you want their expertise, you might have someone in your community that is also a personal trainer or going to school for nursing. Bring them all in. You want their ideas and you want their expertise, and I'll let them do that. They're public relations specialists for your campaigns, right? They're going to go back out to their departments and they're going to promote what you're doing. I was sharing a story about this nutrition bingo game that we've done. It's just like bingo, and each square is a nutrition component, right? You had to eat, it's the reason now I eat Greek yogurt. It took me a long time to get used to Greek yogurt. Does anyone like Greek yogurt? Okay. It took work for me, actually. So one of the squares was you had to eat Greek yogurt 3 times in the month, and once you've eaten it 3 times, you could cross that box off. Another one was you had to give up soda for the entire month. No soda. So then you got to, so it was just like bingo. So we awarded for bingo and blackout on our bingo card. But my committee had to go out and help me promote that event. I didn't do any of it. I just came up with the name, right? Decided what the budget was and said go promote it, and that's what they did. So in that regard, they're also going to lighten your load. They're going to oversee the efforts. They'll help you just develop your vision. Again, this is kind of this collaborative. It's a way to kind of tell your employees that this is actually their program. This is the employee wellness program. Help us run it. A couple of things to mention. Don't kind of cycle your wellness team through everyone on an annual basis. You want some people to stay for a couple of years so there's some continuity. Okay? You don't want to start fresh every year. I don't think. Okay, and then drafting the operating plan. I have templates of this if you'd like it. That allows you to think through all of the steps in planning an initiative. So it goes by quarter. The year's divided into 4 of them. Okay, so then it makes you think through each of these things. So what are you going to be offering? Who is the point person in charge of that event, the challenge, the campaign, whatever? It may be simply every month we're going to change our wellness bulletin board. Who's doing that? Who's doing it? You've got to break it down by month, you've got to break it down by quarter. This is what you determine. So every employee knows exactly what their responsibility, every team member rather, knows exactly what their responsibility is. So it allows you to think through what are the dates we're going to offer this challenge? How are we going to market or communicate this particular program, challenge, event with our employees? We've got to think through it. What are the dates? When do we start marketing? How are we going to evaluate if this was a success? Because again, we want to be able to report what our ROI was, right? We had 80% participation. Woohoo! Hey, what's the incentive for participating? What's the budget? Evaluation I touched on too. So the template that I've got, if you want to copy, will make you Theo is the first one signed up for a challenge. And if he's not, he better be there signing others up, right? So actually visibly supporting and leading by example. And you want your CEO to be comfortable distributing this responsibility, and most of them are happy to do that. They sometimes will think that this means they're not responsible unless they have to take part.